standoff situation in Bangor right now at a gas station on Union Street, so we want to pray for a good resolution to that, and one that we kind of left off the list, and I hadn't thought of it until we were in the prayer. Corey had asked for prayers for Brittany's cousin.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know how that situation has worked out. I haven't heard anything back on that yet. I'm sure no one has because that hasn't been on Facebook yet. So, but we want to keep that in mind as well. But the devil's going to find tools to use wherever he can, and I've said before from the pulpit that the devil is using college. It's his playground, and his other playground is the internet. And while we can use it for good by posting our videos and whatnot, there's more bad out there than there is good, unfortunately.
Right.
And, let's keep these things in mind as we go about as well. Today, if you go to your quarterlies, we're on page 72. And if you see, you'll notice we're coming up fairly close to the end. We're down to, 2 more lessons after this week. Then we'll have a new quarter going. I think it's all Psalm 119, so we're not going out of Psalms. We'll just be plowing into that one. No. I don't know what the plan is. Let's see, take a quick look here. We're down for Galatians. An entire quarter of Galatians. So we're taking a really in-depth look at that one starting in about 3 weeks. So it'll be good to kind of keep that one in mind. And if you haven't been attending, and this is more for the people maybe viewing on the Facebook, or if you've been spotty on attendance, this would be a good time to jump right in and get going again. Awful hard to step in toward the end of a quarter because you don't know what's been going on, but with the start of a new quarter is the start of an opportunity to step in. Today we're looking at Psalm what? 139. And this quarter's been about praising God. All of these Psalms that we've been looking at have been about praising God. And today we're praising God for his attributes, it says. And what's one of the first things, if we're taking a look at, well, let's just jump in. 1 through 6. Someone read 139, 1 through 6, please.
O Lord, thou hast searched me and known me. Thou knowest my down sitting and mine uprising. Thou understandest my thought afar off. Thou compassest my path and my lying down, and art acquainted with all my ways. For there is not a word in my tongue, but lo, O Lord, thou knowest it altogether. Thou hast beset me behind and before, and laid thine hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain unto it.
What are we praising about here in terms of the Lord? What are we talking about? What attribute does the Lord have that we're
all-knowing?
He's all-knowing. The Lord knows I just sat down. The Lord knows I just stood up. No, everyone in this room does. But when I just sat down and stood up, does Pastor know?
No.
Does Margie know out in California? No, they wouldn't know until they see the video. So that's the point, is even though you think you're alone at that point, it's not just an all-knowing, but he's with us too. Omnipresent. He is with us at all times. And that's something to remember, that when we are feeling in those low points, the Lord is with us. And you need to keep that in mind. This is a bad time of year. February into March, probably one of the worst times of year, because we're all shut in. We're all feeling that confinement. yes, there's some of us that go to work and go back, but really beyond that, is there much else?
Cabin fever.
It's really heavy duty cabin fever taking place. We're not getting out and being able to go for the walks that we did because unless you got snowshoes and good knees, you really can't be able to go out and do. No, they're not.
Oh, I know.
I speak from experience on that one. So, we got to remember that when we're feeling in those pinch points, I'm so confined, I've got nothing I can do, and I'm so alone right now because I can't get out and I can't do, well, there's that. And really with that knowledge of the Lord being with us, do we need much more? I mean, you want to talk about confinement? Think about Paul down in the prison.
Absolutely.
How much more confined can you get than being shackled to a wall? And yet, what did he do? Praise God, he sang. I know quite a bit about people, but I don't know everything about everyone. I don't know what people are thinking. I don't know what's about ready to. Well, a lot of times you can think of what's going to spring off someone's tongue when they get that. You get a feel for what they're going to say, but you don't know what they're going to say. But the Lord knows, doesn't He?
Sometimes we're even surprised at what comes out of our mouth.
Yeah. I think there's stuff on Facebook. Hey, I like to not think about what I'm going to say because even I like to be surprised by it.
I'll tell you what, I've had moments where things have sprouted out of my mouth, and I was like, I don't say that.
Did I do that?
And then sometimes we get politicians that say things that they planned out, and it's like, did he just really say that? Did he go there? Really?
They're calling old bomb up on that one.
No, I only said politicians.
Oh. You're naming him by name. He did not.
Crusades.
Secret Service.
Anyways, I think we missed one on the last crusade. Anyway.
Get hold of the term. Get hold of the meaning. The term crusader radic.
Think about how God knows every detail of our life, no matter how mundane we may think it is. As little emotion as it is to sit like this, it matters to God. We may not think about these things as we're going around on our day. My standing up like that, big deal, right? I just stood up. But it's a power move, isn't it? To stand up is drawing emphasis. To sit down, I'm weakening my position. And God knows that. If I'm teaching and I'm sitting down and I'm taking a weaker position and it's saying that what I'm saying is not so important, but if I stand up, even though my tone doesn't change, the fact that I'm standing up, that physical presence, that makes more of a difference. And that's, God is noticing that. If we're trying to defend God and we take a weak position physically, God's going to notice that. You defended me with words, but what were you showing? And we need to think about these things as we go about, because sometimes we don't want to take an aggressive position. I'm not talking when you're witnessing holding you, but you've got to be showing the importance of it. What?
That's what I've been doing wrong.
Yeah, there's no actual laying the knuckles. It's supposed to lay of hands, not laying of knuckles.
That's spike
So we don't grab them by the scruff of their neck and. Have you heard about Jesus today?
I think it's that spike glove you wear that puts them off, man.
Yeah, well, you know.
Page 74, third paragraph, about second sentence. It does say in the quarterly, Jesus taught that our words proceed from our hearts and that we will be judged for what we say. It's not just what we say. We're going to be judged for what we think. Remember, I may not say what I wanted to say. But God already knows what I was thinking. And He's going to hold me responsible for that thought even. I may not flip California hello to that driver that cuts me off, but just because I thought it, I'm now responsible for it. We need to remember that. And we may not think about these things when we're asking for forgiveness in our prayers, but we need to remember those little things that sometimes I just do a catch-all. Hey, I know I messed up a lot today, and I probably can't name every little instance, but Lord, you know what they are. We need to be thinking about that as we go about. Keep saying we need to be thinking. We need to be more than just thinking. We need to be doing. Consider how many people on this planet, and God knows every thought, every action of every person. It's 320 million in America alone. Something to the tune of 1.3 trillion people in China, 1.3 billion people in China. 1.3 billion people in China. They have 1 billion more people than we do in America. He knows every thought and every action of every person in that country. All of these ISIS terrorists, He knows what they're going to do before they even do it. Think, He could stop any of these things that are going on. But why hasn't He? It's not time. We have to go through bad. He has said we've got to go through some bad stuff before. I feel that it's a case where every person has to hear and has to have the opportunity to either accept or flat out reject. And once that last person has heard and either chosen to accept or reject, then the work is done. And then they can take a look at it. Well, a lot of discussion about the National Prayer Breakfast this week. A lot of discussion about that. I'm not going to get into the political side with Obama. I'm going to take a look at the fact that what Darrell Waltrip said.
Amen.
Can we now say that Obama has heard the word?
Yes. Yep.
We know now that he has now heard the word.
Oh, yes.
The Dalai Lama has heard the word. And the word's not bird. Those from the 50s, 60s music.
All right.
We need to take advantage of opportunities that are presented to us. Could Waltrip have soft-pedaled what he was going to say? But he was in your face about it. And as a result, it wasn't just those people in that room that heard, but that message is going like wildfire across this nation. It's gone viral across the world. And he has told people, accept Christ or you're going to be damned and go to hell.
That's right.
We've got to take advantage of our situations, and what a perfect opportunity that he took. And do you think that action, God saw that?
Yeah. He's smiling.
Oh yeah.
He's a happy God right now because someone chose to stand on principle at that point. He knows everything about everyone. How scary is that? How scary is that? He knows everything about. I don't know everything about my own wife. I don't care how long you've been married to someone. Matt and Kelly, as long as you've been married to each other, do you know every little thing about each other?
You can't understand that.
And Kelly and Kelly's saying, and I don't want to know. I don't want to know every little thing. God knows why he's like that.
Some things you just leave in God's hands.
Romans 8:28. For all things. That's a good sport. He asked me, being married to Kelly.
I give you permission to.
Oh, no, he's right.
Verses 7 through 12, if someone would please.
Whither shall I go from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning, and dwell into the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, even the night shall be light about me. Yea, the darkness hideth not from me, but the night shineth as the day, and the darkness and the light are both alike to thee.
Can we get away from the Spirit?
No.
First question is, why would we want to? But no matter where we go, can we get away from the Spirit? No. To the deepest, darkest, dankest places that we go as our human lives, we're always having that little voice in the back of our head saying, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be doing this. That's the Spirit talking to us. Some people call it their conscience. Some people talk about the little angel and the little devil on their shoulders. No. Verse 8 could offer a challenge. Paul mentioned it to me earlier. I had to think about that for a little bit. What's it say, verse 8 again? Someone?
If I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there.
What are we talking about?
Sheol. Are you talking about hell?
Hmm?
Say, talking about the word hell.
Well, if I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. What are we talking about in that one? Okay. We're talking about the Spirit. Is the Spirit going to be wherever we go, correct?
Yes.
So let's take a look at the second part, that if I make my bed in hell, thou art there. Can the Spirit go into hell?
That word is actually Sheol, which means the place of the dead. The actual understanding at the time this was written, not necessarily hell or Hades, or it's just a separation from the land of the living.
You notice neither word is capitalized. Neither word is capitalized, and Paul, you were right. I mean, it is talking about the grave. So they had different beliefs back then about. Right now we know if you're saved, you die. Where do you go? Heaven, capital H. If you're unsaved, you die. You go to
Hell.
hell, capital H. Right? Back then they kind of referenced just a place of departed spirits. They didn't have that. So we're not looking at the proper nouns of heaven and hell. We're looking at the thought of heaven and hell. When I die, my body's going to be in a grave, and they would have referred to that as hell at the time. we know spiritually there's a difference. Here they're talking on the physical plane. And I think that this is all a reference to the physical plane, because if you look at verse 9, it's continuing. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, he's talking about, it's an imagination type thing. He's talking about what ifs. I'm not going to sprout wings. I'm not going to fly off to the uttermost part of the sea, but it's wherever I go physically, and then we can apply it to the spiritual as well. I asked if the spirit could go into hell, capital H. Can God do anything he wants? Yeah. So I think technically the spirit could go to hell if it wanted to.
Did Jesus go down there at one point and either lock the door or unlock the door or something like that? Yeah. He went down there at one point, so.
But I thought the Lord couldn't look on sin.
Well, just correct me if I'm wrong. What I deal with?
God cannot look on sin. I want to get that one right first. God cannot look on sin, but Jesus was on earth. Did he see sin when he was on earth?
Oh yeah, but you said the spirit.
And the spirit is part of the three, 1 and 3. And the spirit attaches to people that are sinners, right?
Oh, okay.
To try
Gotcha.
to try to sway people. So, go ahead.
So, in the parable of well, not parable, but in the story Jesus taught of the rich man and Lazarus, that was before his resurrection. Okay? So, in the Old Testament, you had a place called Sheol, which was typically paradise on one side with a gulf fixed, and hell or Hades, the temporary storage of the ungodly people on the other side. Now, the Bible references that as possibly being the center of the earth. Now, that's all in the Bible there. So when Jesus descended before he went up from the grave, he went and set those captives free that were in paradise. So when the Old Testament people died, they went to a place called paradise. They didn't go up to the heaven where God was. They came down and were comforted, waiting for the resurrection of Jesus.
Abraham's bosom.
Abraham's bosom. So then, once Jesus did come down, he set those captives free, taking them from paradise up to be with God, because now Jesus made everybody that believed in God's plan of salvation, made them right, so that now they can go up with Jesus being the intercessor in between them, and then leaving the rest of the people in Hades or Gehenna or however you want to put the name there, and they're still there now. So he set them to bring them up.
Some up to heaven, or they're just
All of the people in paradise that died before Jesus rose again from the grave.
Yeah.
Okay, they went to paradise.
Right.
When he died, he went down and took that group of people and brought them with him when he rose again to heaven. Because
They hadn't known him yet, so how could they put their faith in him?
But they believed that God would provide a way and make them right, and that made them righteous because they believed in God by faith. And that's, so then now the sacrifice has been made, Jesus has made everything right, and now they can be up there with God.
Well, that's what he told the people on the cross. And today you'll be in paradise with me.
That's right. They went down to paradise, set them free, and brought them up. Now, there's a little probably more than that to that teaching, but that's the base of it.
Yeah, we'll hang away from that because it's getting into. But I maintain, first of all, why would God want to hang out in hell anyways? He can do it. It's just why would he want to? And we know that what's going to happen to that hell holding place is it's going to get cast off into the Crimson Lake.
There's always been only 2 destinations, one or the other. No purgatory.
What about the darkness? 11 and 12. What are we looking at with this part? Are we talking spiritual darkness? Are we talking physical darkness? It can be either. It can be either. Spiritual darkness. Can God find us in our spiritual darkness?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What about physical darkness?
Oh yeah.
Think about a stormy night. Dark. It was a dark and stormy night. And you're out on a boat in the middle of a sea, being tossed about.
I think it's also a perfect storm last night. This is a good story.
You could be anywhere out on that water, can't you?
Yeah.
And yet Jesus walks right to them. He could see perfectly in the dark because he had abilities that we don't. God can see perfectly in the dark just as he can see perfectly in the light. And when Jesus comes back, what's going to happen to the sun? Going away. It's just going to be his light. Because he has that inner light, he doesn't need to worry about seeing in the dark, does he? There's our new multi-million-dollar money maker. We'll start making Jesus night lights.
Well, I think it's also talking about, a safe person amongst sinners. Because it's always said that, we need to be a light under the community in the darkness. And if they don't know Christ, then they're in darkness. And it's easy, and a safe person can be overtaken by the darkness of sin. And in all that, Jesus is the light, and he can make the darkness a light.
Yea, the darkness night hideth not from thee, but the night shineth as the day. The darkness and the light are both alike to thee. Jesus can see us in our sin. He can see us in our good graces. Obviously, he'd prefer to see us in good grace. That's why I talk about that little H hell, the spirit going pretty much any place it wants to. Don't you think one of the biggest torment for people in hell is the fact that the woulda coulda syndrome? That's one of the biggest tormentors that they've got is that nagging I shoulda, I shoulda, I shoulda, I coulda, I coulda, I coulda. Isn't that just them responding to the spirit at that point? That no matter where we go on earth, God is with us. Men love darkness because their deeds are evil, it says in the quarterly. Darkness hides the evil. But we need to remember again, God knows what we're doing. He sees us. It doesn't matter how dark it is. He sees what we're doing. 13 through 18. Someone 13 through 18.
For thou hast possessed my reins, thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. My substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret, and curiously wrought in the lowest parts of the earth. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being imperfect. And in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. How precious also are thy thoughts unto me, O God! How great is the sum of them! If I should count them, they are more in number than the sand. When I awake, I am still with thee.
How long has God known us? What is it he said? I have known thee before you were conceived. Isn't that one of the lines he says to one of the prophets? And here it says, "Thou hast covered me in my mother's womb." God has power over our physical bodies, it says, page 77. He has the power and ability to make us hurt and make us whole. You're going to hear the arguments, well, if there's a God, why doesn't he help more people? You know? Because maybe they don't need the physical. Because through the physical, what's going to strengthen? Uses the physical to strengthen the spiritual. You see this a lot. Young man on the Dexter pages. Very angry young man. Tracy asked for prayers for the firefighters. He says, they don't need prayers. Their training will get them by. And he was very anti-God and anti-prayer.
I got so annoyed. He had to be the words of wisdom. I just wanted to.
She was going to really lambaste into him, and I said no. And so she took down her post. And he then posted something else about prayer and how it doesn't work. And I got into a little debate with him, not heated by any means. I just, because he was talking about how he should have his free speech to be able to post about how prayer doesn't work. And I said, yeah, but that's great to start your own post about it, but why go on to someone's post about prayer just for the mere fact of wanting to get them all cranked up about it? So that tells me you're just trying to draw attention to yourself.
Well, the problem is, if he wants to post on his own wall, fine. But when you go and make a comment on something, you're actually taking away their freedom of wanting to post something about prayer.
Well, that's it. And that's my thing, is like, if you're on the Dexter Rant and Rave page or whatever, and you see someone asking for prayer requests, don't go onto that post in the comment field saying, oh, there is no God. Just make another post. If you feel that compelled, make a separate post about it.
Right.
And that's what I was telling him. It's like, but we're not taking away your freedom of speech. It's just, why?
Trying to get a reaction.
Then on that same note, I had a guy that I went to school with, and I post the inspirational things and whatnot. He sends me a message telling me I need to stop pushing my religion on others. I said, how is reposting an inspirational thought or saying pushing my religion on them? I said, if you don't like what I post, I said, then feel free to remove yourself.
That's 90 people.
Same thing if you're posting a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like coconut, but do I rave all over someone that puts a coconut cake on there?
No, she calls me up.
I do not.
So I basically told him, I said, if you don't like what I post, then you can feel free to remove yourself and stay off my page.
Right.
I said, I don't feel that posting inspirational thoughts or sayings is pushing my religion on someone.
It's just interesting to see how some people have these reactions, and they too will stand
Well,
for.
part of it is just how our society operates, though. If somebody doesn't like what you have to say, what you think, what you wear, what you drive, they have the right to tell everybody about how they don't like it. They can't avert their eyes or whatever. They have to turn everything into this.
It's all about them.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the point that I was trying to make to him. It's like, look, we're not saying you can't.
Right,
just
he has the right to deny.
Pick and choose the right place for it is what we were trying to drive home.
But back off because someone's just trying to say, hey, let's pray for firefighters. Like, come on.
I think they ended up.
Yeah, he ended up getting blocked off a lot of the Dexter pages because he was just going in and trying to pick a fight. Verse 14, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Please note that term, I am fearfully and wonderfully made, not evolved. Not an amoeba that sprung out from a brine pit. It's yet even more proof about the fact that we're created by God.
Amen.
And we're made in His image. And Quarterly refers to this as a David psalm. I'm not sure. But whoever is writing it is coming right out and boldly saying, we're made. Fearfully and wonderfully made. Why should we be fearfully? Why should it be fearful?
Respectful.
Respectful.
For who God is and who we are.
I kind of, just my take on, He can make me. He can destroy me. As it says,
Well, and then also,
Yeah.
it says,
Make another one
but I
just
am
like it.
fearfully and wonderfully made. I think that shows that God put thought into making us. That's why we're not all carbon copies. That's why we are different. You know, it wasn't just cookie cutter, you know, here's 60 of this one, here's 60 of that one. You know, and it just goes to show that we each have our own individual purpose.
My knees made me sit down.
Okay. I don't know, I started talking and was sad. I was like,
No, I took advantage of the situation where I wasn't talking to be able to sit for a moment.
He's survive, just like I had to.
It's a good tactic.
Page 77, it goes on to say, note that David believed firmly that God made man, and not that man had imagined God. So, I mean, again, it just breaks down into this that we are made.
Well, God made us in His image. He didn't make Himself in our image.
All of these other gods, I mean, and any of these other gods are made by man. They're imagined of. If you can carve a statue of it, then it's a man-made. Who can carve a statue of God? No one.
No one can, because we really don't know what He looks like.
No. That's the thing, is we don't know what God looks like. These other people that think they know what their God looks like, well, that's because they have now imagined their God up.
It's idolatry.
We're wonderfully made. It's a miracle how we were made.
Amen.
How a random batch of atoms would come together and create. No. It was an intent.
It's all part of His plan. He knew what He wanted from us before we were even a thought. Like you said, everybody's got their own uses, own things that they're good at before we even knew that.
As you take a look at verse 16, where you headed on that one. Thine eyes did see my substance, yet being unperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them. He knows what we're going to do before we do it. And He knows that we're not perfect people. And He had to provide that perfect solution for us to be able to be with Him.
It gives a question thought about too is, we're all here in this time frame now. But we ask the question, why weren't we born at another time? And obviously the answer to that is, we're not meant for that time.
it wasn't part of God's plan at that point for us to be here. He had he knew when we were going to be here at what particular time.
He said, let's delay it as long as possible.
Yeah. Oh, we'll delay that one, please.
Yeah. Often I think that God kind of said, I gotta have to send him down sometime.
Yeah.
I guess now's as good a time as any.
I put everyone else on the bench in.
Yeah.
The
My
rules say
bullpen
I'm
is
gonna
empty.
put him in too.
I gotta play them all.
Getting a little slim over there. All right. Send him
Middle school mentality, everyone participates.
High school mentality.
Even though we know it's better for everybody if some don't.
We're like God's Sims. He built us. He has a Sims thing, but we should be called the Hims. Okay, I have too much time on the computer.
Barb,
I know.
we got to get you out more.
Well, if my truck was fixed, I could.
Go for a walk. Go for a walk.
Yeah.
A long one off a pier.
Short beer, brother.
Brian, you might want to just sit down for a minute, let that sink in.
I thought it was pretty darn good.
It was clever.
Yeah.
Well, anything else? Any other thoughts about this?
I have a thought about
Uh-oh.
the statements with Facebook.
Let's leave. Let's. I don't even want to get into. It's up to you guys, but I just would prefer not to get in to leave Facebook for outside of here and outside of there. It's not really the place to bring that up.
Besides Facebook, anything else, any other transaction with people that are going to treat us wrongly because we love the Lord and want to do what's right, in the church, out of the church, no matter where you go at work, with your family members, it says in 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 14, it says, if you be reproached for the name of Christ, happy are ye, for the Spirit of glory and of God rests upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. So, when something like that happens, we're told to be happy about it, because God has set us apart to not only be part of his kingdom, but to suffer just like he suffered.
At that point, we've obviously struck a nerve, and we've got someone thinking. And we can do one of two things. We can get cranked up ourselves, or we can take a moment. And this is what I tried to do with people. So I tried to just, here's my perspective. I'm not saying you're wrong, but here's my perspective. And try to get people to see. It's like any debate. You try to, I have discussions with people at work on a regular basis. Well, what if you're wrong? What if I'm wrong? If I'm wrong, big deal. I know I'm not. I don't say that. So then I automatically come off as being arrogant. But what if I'm right? What do you have?
And a lot of people that do that really just want to argue.
Yeah.
That's all they want to do is just ruffle your feathers. And we're told very clearly that, especially once you present the truth to them. Granted that your heart's in the right place when you present in the first place and not being vindictive or angry. We're supposed to back away and leave alone. Because otherwise we're casting our pearls before swine. And that's a very difficult thing, because we can do that anytime we're talking with other people, anytime we're at work.
It's hard not to.
It's really hard not to because that's in the flesh. That's what comes natural to us.
We're gonna wrap up. I will just say that some people it's become the fashion. It's become fashionable to attack Christians.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. And so people want to seem like they're part of the in crowd and attack Christians. So, who would like to close us in prayer this morning?
I will.
Thank you, Paul.
Just thank you, Father. In Jesus' name for this class. Thank you for this day. And thank you for answering prayers, not because we deserve them, we don't. We just ask humbly according to your will that you answer them. And, we're not titled to anything, Lord. But by your grace, we just ask you answer our prayers according to your will as we humbly approach you. And we thank you for this day. And thank you for the people that have stepped up while pastors away. And be with us all, Father. We all need you. And we all have prayer requests. And you know each need, Lord. We just ask that you answer them according to your will.